Hey there, this is Natalie, and it's been a while. I'm sorry about the lack of videos recently, but we had the heatwave from hell here, and both me and my PC didn't really work very well during that time, especially given that to record I have to close all the windows and turn off the fans. So I took a break. Trust me, it's better this way. The original draft of this video, written in my heat-addled state, had for number 6 on this list, I like her because she's funny, and nothing else. Still, the temperature's going down now, so I'm back. And even though this topic is a bit outdated now, we're halfway through the summer season, I still wanted to make this video. The spring 2021 anime season was probably one of the best we've ever had. The winter season had looked like it could only be followed by a less impressive one, where it was full of big sequels like Re:Zero and Attack on Titan, and The Promised Neverland, and also had the continuation of Jujutsu Kaisen from the fall. With no big hitters other than My Hero Academia, which I don't care about, I was expecting spring to be a bit barren. But no, I think there were more shows I was watching each week, as well as more I had to regretfully put in the binge later pile than in the winter. And with Vivy, Higehiro and Odd Taxi, there were even shows that managed to tell a complete and satisfying story in one season, which is something we don't get much if you think about it. I think the last thing with a standalone, no need to worry about a season 2 announcement story I watched was Decadence, and that was last summer. Still, people were asking me to make a video with the best husbandos of the season, I guess because other people had done waifu videos and I like men. But when I sat down to make the list, I was like, hang on, we've got Senpai, Awarus, Agent 6, and that guy who pissed himself from Full Dive. The girls this season were way better. Now I may be a heterosexual woman, but I still appreciate a good waifu. Maybe I like them for different reasons. I don't like Nagatoro because I want her to step on me. I like her because I find her relatable. More on that later. But whether they're cute, funny, badass, or just really interesting characters, I have my best girls. And so I'm going to rank them. I'm limiting myself to one girl per show because combatants will be dispatched, and I've been killing slimes for 300 years, and you know what, I'm just going to call them combatants and slime 300 for the rest of the video. Had enough quality waifus to fill the list by themselves. But the fact I can even do that just shows how many good shows with great waifus there were last season. So let's begin cataloguing anime girls. At number 10 we have Kumoko, aka the spider out of So I'm a Spider, So What. She would have been higher because I do love her, but given in the spring season the show was continuing on from the winter, it kind of feels like a cheat to rank her too high. Also, she's a spider, so as entertaining and well acted as she is, she definitely loses on beauty, unless you're into that sort of thing. But it would take a braver person than me, the one who made a video about liking Euphoria, to look up fan art of her to see if anyone is. And yes, I did see the final episode, which does up her waifu potential, but I'm going to be vague about the shows in this video to avoid spoilers. At 9 we have someone from My Hero Academia. I don't know, I'll say the frog one. I dropped Boku no Hero Academia after season 2. I think I'm just not really into that style of shonen. I prefer the more Bleach, Jujutsu Kaisen style, where the characters are a bit older and the main character is cool, rather than starting out kind of lame and getting stronger over the course of 1,000 episodes or so, says the Re:Zero fan. So it didn't do it for me, but I don't want to get on the wrong side of that fan base, so yeah, you can have number 9. From here on though, it's all stuff I actually watched. At 8 we have Riona from Full Dive. Full Dive was written by the same author as Overly Cautious Hero, and like with Overly Cautious Hero, there's a surprising tendency towards it being in some bizarre way actually a romance. Without spoilers, Riona did seem like a bit of a dick at first, albeit with an appealing character design, so you'd be forgiven for thinking she's a funny jerk waifu in the style of Konosuba or Combatants, but actually she's slightly less of an asshole than that. I wouldn't buy anything from her shop though. At 7, Beelzebub from Slime 300. It was very hard to pick just one waifu from a show that is basically wall-to-wall cute, likeable girls, and yet Beelzebub's slight tsundere tendencies and badass character design stole it for me. I don't really know how I'd classify this show. I mean, yes, it's slice of life isekai, but it's kind of like if a harem was created that nobody was actually nobbing. It's not a Yuri harem, though a couple of characters seem like they'd like it to be. And yeah, it's kind of going for that found family thing Kuma 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 Bear had going on, but with most of the girls being adults and there being some definite adult humour in it, and it following basically a harem building structure. It feels like a harem, but it isn't. The Great Jahi Will Not Be Discouraged follows a similar pattern in this season. Is this the fabled harem not a harem show? In any case, it was actually a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be, and the fact that Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies, is only at number 7 just shows how many great female characters we got. At 6, Alice from Combatants, the other show where it was extremely hard to pick just one girl. She's the only lolly on the list, but she's an android, so it's okay. Not the only android on the list though. I was tempted to pick Higehiro of the Flame, but that feels kinda like picking Wiz or Yunyun as best girl in Konosuba. Like a valid choice, but not really getting into the spirit of things. Of the jerk characters, I'm kind of fond of Snow and her greedy ways. But Alice has a shotgun, and is probably the best sidekick you could wish for. At 5 is Sayu from Higehiro, or I Shaved and Brought Home a High School Runaway. This show was pretty entertaining, though I feel like it did have a lot of flaws. For one thing, the dialogue could be really weird and not at all like actual human speech, with nobody ever answering a question and instead launching into these weird monologues full of metaphors and whatnot. For another, a lot of it felt like it was just so the plot could happen. Why were Yoshida's co-workers so ridiculously up in his business? Why couldn't Sayu's brother just take her in? I also hated all the characters other than the main two and that one Gyaru girl. But I kinda liked it anyway. And Sayu was a cute and sympathetic character. Worst girl of the season definitely goes to Sayu's mother though. First instance I've seen of a true anime milp. Mom, I'd like to punch. At 4, we're starting to get into the peak waifus, with Vladilena or Lena from 86. I didn't make any videos about 86 because, as with Vivy, it seemed like nobody was watching content about it. I know military sci-fi can be a bit of a hard sell, but it did feel like this series deserved a lot more love. Lena is a well-developed character who grows a lot through the course of season 1, and her bravery, kindness, and great design won her a lot of fans. I'm sure a lot of you would have put her higher or even at number 1, and I can get that, but I like my waifus with a little bit less sadness and tragedy attached. And yes, the next two are going to make that thought look a bit hypocritical. At 3, we have a character whose name I actually had to look up, because I'd been calling her Capoeira Alpaca, and so had everyone else. Shirakawa from Odd Taxi. Please watch Odd Taxi, by the way. I know it looks like some kind of quirky animal bullshit, but it's probably the smartest thriller I've seen in years. And without spoiling anything, there is a point to the animal thing that pays off. It also had what I would say was a Breaking Bad tier ending. But back to the waifu. Early in the story, I was resistant to her waifu potential because, like everyone else in the show, she seemed sus. But she definitely won me over, and by the end, I felt like she'd cemented herself as one of the best girls of the season. Sadly, since Odd Taxi is nothing without story and mystery, other than interesting characters and top-tier dialogue, I can't really say why I like her, just that I do. If you know, you know, and if you don't, definitely watch it to find out. At number 2, it's Vivy from Vivy. Technically, her name is Diva at the start, but we all know from the title that that wasn't going to be how we'd be knowing her by halfway through the season, so I'm not counting that as a spoiler. I mean, technically, the show is called Vivy Fluorite's Song, but obviously I'm not saying that. Again, I mean. Vivy is not only completely badass and has Ai Sakuga to rival Gojo Satoru, my husbando from the winter season by the way, but she's also a genuinely fascinating character who gives you a lot to think about the potential and implications of AI. But I've already made a video about that. So let's move on to number 1. Yeah, I'm sure it surprises nobody who follows me on Twitter or has spoken to me since the spring season started, whether they like anime or not, but it's Nagatoro. I've come to really love the teasing girl genre, and I may well make a video about why, so I'll stick to just talking about Nagatoro here, because so far, to me, she's the funniest, cutest, and most well executed example of the genre. As a former normie, I love the way Nanashi, the mangaka behind Nagatoro, doesn't fall into the trap of making the popular kids seem inferior, and as an extroverted girl with a taste for more introverted men, I like that the couple aren't reduced to some manic pixie dream girl nonsense, because as Yahtzee once put it, not every introvert is waiting for Zooey fucking Deschanel to break down the door and force them to go rollerblading. I do also like that we're getting a lot of Gyaru characters of late, even if it is the one Japanese fashion style I couldn't copy because nobody would notice. Nagatoro just cracked me up. I became so obsessed with the show that even in a season that had the drama and depth of story of shows like Odd Taxi and Vivy, where I was dying to see what happened next, it was Nagatoro I was most excited to watch each week. I have also caught up on the manga too, and it's great. I thought maybe without the noodle arms being animated and the senpais not being voice acted, Nagatoro might be slightly less awesome, but it's not. I'm sure everyone is aware that the mangaka Nanashi has experience drawing the cultured materials, and honestly Nagatoro's facial expressions are so perfect that I think he's a fairly good example of why that's a pretty good way to hone your craft. And on that bombshell, it's time to end the video. Thank you as always to my patrons on Patreon. Apologies for the lack of content recently, but I'm currently reworking all the terrible scripts I wrote when my brain was slightly cooked, so there should be some videos I hope you'll like coming soon now I'm back. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again very soon.